Okay, here we go. Okay, we're going live. Ready to go live. What?
The views expressed by the guests aren't necessarily the opinion of the Swords of the Saint radio network or the host of this show. The views expressed by content, listener discretion is advised. And the guests aren't necessarily the opinion of the Swords of the Saint radio.
The objective is to kill man, kill mankind.
The goal of the demonic is death. Plain and simple, it is death.
All of a sudden, he gets slapped in the face and he flies against the wall. And his handprints appear across his face.
Very scary here. Everything about it is scary. The work in the field, our face is very work. It was escalating to where objects started moving.
This is a war. By goal of what you're talking about. Plain and simple, it is death.
All of a sudden, it is slapped in the face and he flies against the wall. And his handprints appear across his face.
Very scary here.
Demonology Today. Flash.
The work in the field, our face is very work. It was escalating to where objects started moving.
This is a war. By goal of what you're talking about. Plain and simple, it is death.
All of a sudden, it is slapped in the face and he flies against the wall. And his handprints appear across his face.
Very scary here.
Demonology Today. Flash.
The work in the field, our face is very work. It was escalating to where objects started moving.
This is a war. By goal of what you're talking about. Plain and simple, it is death.
All of a sudden, it is slapped in the
Very scary here.
Demonology Today. Flash.
The work in the field, our face is very work. It was escalating to where objects started moving.
This is a war. By goal of what you're talking about. Plain and simple, it is death.
All of a sudden, it is
Very scary here.
Demonology Today. Flash.
The work in the field, our face is very work. It was escalating to where objects started moving.
This is a war. By goal of what you're talking about. Plain and simple, it is death.
all of a sudden, it is
I see it. I've got to play it.
All
That's
right.
scary.
I closed the browser. Once that probably took us out. It took us out.
You're so bizarre.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
All right, come on.
Exactly.
Somebody verify. Check it out, all right?
I already told you it's verified. Something went wrong. We're having trouble playing this video. Oh, Dawn and Brent say they can see us, so I guess.
Oh, can
we're
I see us live? Can they see us talking?
I hope so.
Yeah, we should have had some sort of test show on, but what the
I
heck?
told
mean,
you. But
No,
guess
as
what?
you said
It's
yesterday,
more
why do you need a
fun.
test show? Yeah,
it's more fun just we've got people we can experiment on.
Yeah, like ourselves.
I know.
Scalpel. Anyway, welcome one and all to Demonology Today Radio. You know what? It's now called The Real Deal, but we're making that slow transition so you don't get a shocker. Okay, all right. All right. Who's playing with the spring box? No jumping up and down on your bed. Oh, is that you, Mike?
Yep.
Michael Norton's here with us tonight, and so is Christopher Sampson, so is Deb Johnson, the Fabulous Three, which makes the Fast Five. This is our experimental show, apparently. I thought it'd be more of a no-brainer. Yeah, you know, I guess the wife's right. You know, it's like it takes so much CPU power to simultaneously record it and copy it to your deck and then broadcast it live that it can't handle it. Because it was up to like 80% processing, and I couldn't even get the browser. You know how Facebook and all that, it's got all these ads and snoops and stuff like that. But, well, all right, I just want a confirmation to find out that someone can see us here. The screen, can they see us talking? Can they hear us? Is that an amen?
As far as I can see, people are actually, you can hear, you know, obviously.
Yes, I see you, Ken.
Okay. All right, that's cool. All right, let's start with our little prayer here.
And Shy is probably dying laughing. All right. In nomine
He went to bed.
He went to bed. Good for him. I would have too.
I was going to go with him in about 2 more minutes.
You're not getting out of this one now, huh?
Yeah, I know. We wasted. I was up to like 12:30 that last Thursday, and then ran a test show, and we finally got connected. But nothing of technical details. We're here for other technical reasons. Let's start off with our prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the malice and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, and we humbly pray. And do thou, Prince of the heavenly host, by the divine powers of God, cast into hell Satan and all the other evil spirits who roam to the world, seeking to ruin the souls. Amen. All right, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. So a little bit of technical stuff. Anytime you try something, you need to make a big jump. But what do you guys think about all the goodies? You know, can you see everything in there okay?
Oh, I see there in the background typing.
Oh, you do? No, that's Michael typing. He's the sound effects tonight, right? Oh, you know what? I don't have that old sound effects. This cart that I used to use, it's for an older version of Windows. It's for radio, so we don't have anything to replace it yet. So you don't get to hear applause, gongs, clocks ticking when someone takes too long to answer a question, you know, or anything else, you know, except we just have our regular Windows player to pipe in somebody's basic, you know, intros and all that kind of stuff. But
let me see if Farah has her hair up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do. And it's very hot. It's very hot.
It's hot there, isn't it? With the windows open, the curtains hanging.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have the camera that's going to go on in, you know, not next week, at the weekend, not week. And
I have to crawl out of my coffin.
because we got to get some lighting set up and get her camera adjusted. And believe it, there's a lot of stuff that I had to do to get here. That's probably why no one else is doing this exactly like this. So just wait till the ads start showing up in the corner. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, Facebook, don't shut us down.
There are so many rules to doing this, you guys. It's just insane.
Copyrighted music, just like YouTube, you know, that you got to watch the copyrighted music stuff. So.
But the nice thing is that it's actual in time. So, you know, we've been warned that Deb and I have to minimize our proctology jokes, and you know, we need to let Christopher Sampson talk a little bit more because he sounds like he's really intelligent. And we also have to invite Michael Norton's friend in the Van Halen belt out there for a couple of interviews. Yes, because he provides great comic relief.
Mm-hmm. I think he's gone till the 23rd till the planet Nerubia collides with us.
Oh, how fun!
I thought he went to Burning Man.
I think he stopped there first. That's how he got there.
Oh my god!
Got bit up by insects and melted by the scorching heat. Got his wheelchair all tangled up in the sheets from a certain tent.
Now that's
That's not right. Okay.
We just violated several things on Facebook now. This is
Hey, you guys, you know, good news, too, is we actually have our Skype number working tonight. So, switch. Oh, guess what? We're on a different machine, too. Completely. This is a quad core. So, in case you like that technical jargon. Tonight's phone number is 417-213-5599. You can call in, you know, I don't know, as the show gets forward, as you see, we kind of...
Who can call there? Whose phone number is that?
That's our phone number to call in and ask a question and ask a
call us.
demonologist. I got it on the bottom of your monitor, dear, in case you forget it, and we can bring it up later on the show.
Put the number in the chat room.
Okay, very good.
All
Yeah,
right.
Skype's a funny thing, so I thought I'm going to call her right before the show. We were thinking about another way to get callers in. It is Ask a Demonologist just questions tonight, and we got a bunch of them from people. Did we answer that legal right question in a segment 2 weeks ago, Farah? Do you remember Ask a Demonologist question about legal right? Do you remember?
I'm not sure. Did we cover that, Christopher? We were talking about legal right. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we sort of touched on that.
But we did we go in depth, or did we just kind of brush it over a little bit?
We brushed it over a little bit.
Okay.
Then let's resurrect it and give it mouth to mouth.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I have to admit, in my first book, I didn't use that expression at all.
I know, but you know what? You have to. Deb tagged me. I'm sorry, boys. I have to talk about this because this was really disturbing. All right, I'm trying to eat dinner. I'm feeding the children. Deb tags me in this video, and guess what it's about? Not only is it about exorcism, but it's about teenage virgins, Vestal virgins doing exorcism. How do they do exorcism? They take Bibles and shove them into people's throats while they're hopping up and down just like little scrambling bunnies looking about and saying, no, you can't have him. Now, are we talking Tootsie Pops or demons here, folks? I don't know. It's just like it's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. So
that was my chuckle for the day.
Oh, I needed bleach bit for my eyes. It was like,
you know what really got to me? When I saw the father say, I loosen you.
And that's what I'm thinking. Okay, are we talking about corsets and stays? Or are we talking about, I loosen you? Well, I haven't heard that phrase in a long time, folks. I'm telling you what. The whole point of the video is that this man has created such a hubbub for himself in creating a cash cow, kind of like a lot of religious leaders have. And now, since he is looking for all these ways to justify and create a pathway for himself to be taken as legitimate, I actually heard him use the term, or the girls use the term, with their little bubblegum pink little lipstick and bobbling heads and everything. And they're talking about, yeah, demons have legal right. I'm like, okay. Do you know what legal is? I don't even think you are legal, girl.
Legal is what it does.
It's like, okay. These people
they're not legal. They're just teenagers.
I know.
They're illegal.
They're going to the Ukraine, all right? And they're showing people that are, like, screaming and carrying on like a toddler. They need medication. They don't need a deliverance. These girls don't recognize that. This is sad, and this is why I bring it up. So if we're going to talk about legal right, we have to talk about, it's such a fine line, and we really have to talk about some of the fractured possibilities that exist in, shall we say, assuming that someone's given legal right. Plus, we can never, never, never overlook the fact that you have mercy and you have grace and you have all this good stuff flying around you because you got a grandma that prays for you. Don't ever discount that. Grandmas pray all the time.
That's all I got left.
Oh, zip it.
Yeah, you'll be a grandma sometime soon, so hopefully, no, I don't want to make a call on that one.
I wouldn't think so.
Anyway, let's get back on the topic. But
we're talking about legal right, not
legal right, legal left,
grandpups.
Legal age.
Exactly. That's what I was talking about, legal age. And these people, in order, legal right is something that has to be understood on a spiritual level. And it's not something that's just a pop term. It's really not. And I think that, we can look to a lot of different circumstances in history where there are such things as, Moses striking the rock and getting mad. And, boy, he sure gave God the right to get upset with him and say, you're sitting there for 40 years in the desert, buddy. You can't control your temper. That, in a sense, is when we let go of anger and we allow impatience, rage, we allow certain things to take over our nature, which is basically our human nature is geared towards service, and the corruption of this world takes it in 1,000 different directions. So I'd like us to talk, Christopher, I'd like you to start with just some instances on how just from, birth to teenage years that as children and as, we understand the age of reason, how basically if we don't mind our parents, what happens? It's all spiritual. Christopher, did you go away?
Really? Yeah. No, I'm just listening. Yeah, you're right. We kind of like I said last time, when we're dealing with demonic things, it is that legal, and how God works through the covenant. And the family is how it's approached to the covenant and all of that. It's the demonic that deals with the legal and thinks as objects, which we can see in a larger picture with the legalistic objectification of the human person today in our society versus approaching each other as brother and sister. And as we grow, we don't listen to mom and dad who have that covenant right to establish limits, to say, don't go here, don't do this, don't touch the hot stove, don't do... You're right, if we don't listen, guess what? We're going to get hurt.
Exactly.
And today we see a lot of these people that, have this, and they hide it under this definition of freedom that anything goes. Well, no, anything does not go. And then people want to say, well, you're limiting me, you're restricting me, who are you? Well, I'm not. I'm just reminding you that spiritually there's certain bounds you don't go beyond for your own safety. And so kids, it's easier to maintain, as all of us that have kids know. It's easier to maintain once they morph into the whole teenage, adolescent, young adult. That's where we run into these issues. And these schools readily jump in and sweep in and fill that void, which is why we get a lot of young people that fall away from belief, high school, college, university. So yeah, that's my response.
All right. And let's see, Deb?
What, Ken?
Mike?
So, regarding the demons and legalism, a lot of times when we are in deliverance, we're actually in a court trial. These demons like little lawyers. They got their little briefcases there, and they're not going to relinquish their client or whatever they think is theirs, not really theirs. And the reason a person's legally bound to that demon is because through a free will bond or soul tie, or they lent themselves over to this demon, either through a family member, a generational curse, or through something they did, and they just give the demon power to have that legal right to them. It could be any number of things. It could be a vow they made, a vow their grandpa made for money or something. Just any crazy thing. A lot of times it comes in through an unrepented sin in the family line, which is an iniquity. And that's how these legal bonds develop with demons. Like I said, they don't really have the right until somebody comes along through faith and revokes it, usually through Jesus.
So true.
Deb, an example of legal right, as you've heard it described in detail, how would that apply to something that you might have experienced in the past or even the present?
Well, back in the day, I definitely gave it legal right, opening the doors to it and welcoming it in when I played with the Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was like saying, come on in. Yeah. I didn't know it back then, being a kid, but the doors were open for so many years because I did it for so many years.
Yeah, that's a big example, too, and that's one of the worst-case scenarios of it, too. Given legal right, you might, give it in on some lesser forms of sin.
I gave it legal permission.
Yeah. And as they call it, invitation, the invitation transition. It's not a phase. It obviously brings you to the next phase, to infestation, for example, which is the first physical manifestation stage. Legal right is it's a word. Like I said, I didn't put it in the first book, and someone actually criticized me on our Amazon book reviews that said, "Hey, don't you use?" I said, "I use other than legal right. I didn't hear it much. Coming from the Catholic Church, I think it's used more in the other denominations."
It's used pretty much on our side of the fence too, with the Protestant. But like I said, it's the people who don't really understand it, and they're book educated. That's why I use the word free will bond instead of legalism, because what their soul free will, gave themselves over to.
Yeah, it's a Nortonism there. Another one.
Yeah.
That's your next book, Nortonisms. All right, Klingons. Don't forget that one too.
There you go.
Klingons. Spelled with a K.
With a C, right? With a
So that's the word you hear out there, and like I said, if you don't hear it, much, it's you want to talk shop with some people, you might get to them quicker if they understand the one term that seems to encompass a lot for that phenomenon. So, we're going to take questions from the chat room throughout this show, but we have kind of a pre-canned list right here, and so feel free to present those. Sylvia Brown and some other psychic mediums. Somebody actually asked about Sylvia Brown. Did we really? The late Sylvia Brown.
Oh my, poor Sylvia Brown.
I think we'll pass it. Pass.
Yeah, because we don't ever want to speak ill of the dead. Okay, that's just not very wise. I mean, whatever sins she may or may not committed, that's for God to decide now. We can just tell her to rest in peace, and hopefully that she does. And it's like if she were alive, we could totally lambaste her, tar, feather, hang her up for a chicken roasting. But she's gone now. Let her go.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
We got to follow what Jesus says, you guys.
Yeah.
We got to be nice to them when they're dead.
There's another terminology thing, and the whole show's not going to be that, but malevolent spirit. I heard people doing this. The person in particular asked, what is a malevolent spirit, by its definition? And I don't know. I think we'll end up on the bottom of the round table on this thing again. Farah, do you want to start on this one?
What's that, honey?
The malevolent spirit. When people say, oh, it's a malevolent spirit haunting that house, what do you suppose they mean by that?
Well, that's basically...
What is a malevolent spirit? It sounds...
When you start out with the root word as malefice,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that specifically is going to make you uncomfortable and you are going to feel a fear of. So today, folks, we have so many people there, and they're really probably well-wishing. They want to help people. They're thinking, okay, I want certain explanations. So when you hop in the cemetery and hop on somebody's dead grave, you might have a little child spirit, a happy spirit, a soft spirit, a sweet spirit, a moody spirit. Maybe this one might be a little malevolent because it stunk. There's all these explanations, folks. You don't need explanations. God gave you, I don't think I put that cool little picture up, the best ghost busting clue. It's called skin. If your hair is standing up on your skin and your skin looks like you've got the chilblains, run. It's not good. So malevolent, I'll let everybody else take this. It's just meaning it's not very nice, people. Doesn't want to take you to dinner and give you some Chianti with some fava beans.
For those you know what that is. Fava beans?
Favas.
Do we mean Fabio beans? Fabio?
We like Fabio.
Okay, Michael Norton. Let's see. Michael Norton. No. We'll do Christopher Sampson. Let's give us a hit on that one.
Malevolent spirit. Well, I was just thinking, Trevor was talking about, malefice, and I was taking it back to, of course, the Latin malus, which is evil.
Yes.
Malum actually in Latin means evil and apple, which is why traditionally the apple is between Adam and Eve.
Good one.
It's the same word. But beyond that, since I'm a language geek, that's why I kind of go back to that. So malevolent itself automatically should say, this is not good. Run the other direction. And so from there, then, okay, it's like Farah said, it's that God-given internal warner of my hair standing on end. I'm just totally, my body's just reacting in a certain way, and I think, of course, that as a theologically, I would say, well, that is an outward reflection of an inner spiritual effect. My soul knows something is not right, and it is manifesting itself physically for me to be aware of. So whenever I get, I feel cold, hair standing on end, deep in my gut, I feel, oh, this is not right because of whatever I'm confronting. Maybe I should listen. It's when we as adults think, oh, no, I know better, and we tend to not listen. Whoops, then we get into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Malevolent spirit. Have you heard that term used when you were going through your ordeal, Deb?
Oh, yes, definitely. Ed would use that sometimes. And, you know, we all know malevolent spirit is the spirit or soul of an evil person who wants to harm a person or harm a person who's weak and wants revenge on the living. And they usually try to attach themselves to children, the elderly, the sick, the injured, because they're more easily to manipulate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I think that's a classic definition of where they used to put that. Like poltergeist has its, you know, well, like two definitions anyway.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right. Michael Norton, have you heard that term much? Do you use it? When was somebody referring to that? What were they talking about?
Not much. I got a lot of New Agers out here, so they use that word negative entity now. You know, that's their new. It's like, whatever.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah.
Or do you get the one, Michael, that says, "Oh, it's an energy vampire."
Yeah,
it's an energy vampire.
My favorite,
yeah.
My favorite one was at a New Age show. I have the video. I should put the link up. I interviewed a New Age person that cleaned out houses, but he didn't do negative entities. He only did was it positive entities. He charged $1,000 a house. And I go, well, what do you charge for negative? Oh, I don't do those. Anyway,
how nice is that?
Deb said that if you get a malevolent spirit in a house, it's because I worked on a couple where they were going after the young girls in the house at teenage years. You know, some strange reason they would try to do a spiritual attachment to them or something that we had to clear out. But yeah, they're not good, and they're always seeking somebody to attach to or to drive nuts. No, it's malevolent. I haven't ran into any poltergeist activity, but it's just been spiritual attachments of very bad things trying to, you know, go after the teenage girls in the house.
Yeah, I think that we spend a lot of time, again, in this one, too, talking talk, walking the walk or whatever. I mean, when we're communicating with people, we have to learn the DSM-5 just so we could stay updated, so we can communicate with shrinks and psychologists. And this is another one of those buzzwords, I think. And it's like I said, when you use Hatman and what are some of these others, Wraith, and you're describing the same type of entity, you know, I don't care what it's shaped like. I don't care what kind of clothes they wear or whatever, or whatever they're pertaining. It's like, in this case, it's like, aren't we just talking about a mood? It's like, okay, its mood is not good. It's rather crabby and angry and hateful. So now we're gonna malevolent man. You know, if he's a shadow, you know, looking silhouette thing. I think that people need to avoid the labels of this kind of, because they concentrate too much, just like they do with humans, you know, what the personality is like and not what you're dealing with. It's either evil or it's good, you know, or it's human or it's inhuman. We want to know if it's evil. That's all we care about, really. I don't care if it's human or not, because, you know, we pray for him. But I think it's another one of those over-definition things. I think a lot of people like to feel like they know a lot, so they throw those new terminologies out. Like, you know, I don't know. You guys think that's a good one for that? Malevolent spirit.
If I can add something, this made me think of, outside of the whole idea of a spirit being trapped in a box, it made me think of the Jewish belief in the Dybbuk, which comes from the Hebrew word devak means to cling, and so it is the restless soul of a dead person that clings to someone that is alive in order to do something malevolent. But on the flip side, the Hebrew belief was that a restless soul of a good person could also cling and seek to temporarily possess someone in order to fulfill one of God's commandments. But it made me think when we were talking about this, like Deb said, you know, the soul of a dead person and to cause harm, it made me think of that whole notion of that Hebrew belief.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Christopher Sampson, the seminarian. You fill in the blanks very well. Very, very well.
Very
thank you.
well.
Very well.
My Elmer Fudd or Barbara Walters imitation there. Pretty bad one at that. Okay, we got a question that's been presented sometime in the past, but how does a person know they're possessed? How many times do people I think they're asking that sometimes because they want to know, I think I'm possessed sometimes. I wake up eating a raw hamburger meat. I don't know what the symptoms are sometimes in those cases, but sometimes they think their boyfriend's possessed, because they get up and sleepwalk and do weird things like that, but they want to say, the two-part question, number one is, do you know what, does a possessed person know they're possessed? And the second question is how do you know, like yourself, that you're possessed? And they might answer, and we might answer both of those at the same time because they're interwoven, of course. We start on the top. Let's mix it up a little bit, and then we'll put in Michael Norton on the top of the list on this one.
Michael.
Oh boy! So I get you probably get them too. Everybody comes to me and says they're possessed. Right? You just sit down with them for a while and go, no, you have just issues. Go deal with them. You weed stuff out, or no, you may have a fractured soul going on here. That's why you hear the voices. It takes a while to weed them out. To get possession, they're a lot more rare, and they don't have a tendency to turn themselves in. If somebody else says, hey, I need you to look at this person, I think they're possessed, you're going, oh, great, here we go, right? I'm going to go out there and waste my time. Oh, my gosh, that person is possessed. But you have to take the time to understand what you're looking for and what it looks like. And you have to sort it out between a fractured soul that has multiple identities, or sometimes it's both. There's demons in there, too, and it's possessed. Or just there could be demonic manifestations, which is oppression and not possession. And that's another thing you have to go in there and analyze, what's going on in the situation. But my possessions, I probably only dealt with, for me, 2 or 3 cases. But that's different. When I was on night strike, a lot of those people on the streets were possessed. It was a different story. That was totally different.
Especially in California.
But they don't want to be delivered.
But they don't want to be delivered. They just want to be where they're at.
Exactly. Same. They're totally happy where they're at.
Yep.
That's different. People that are possessed aren't going to knock on your door and say, hey, can I have a deliverance today?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. They don't send you an email, help, I'm possessed, deliver me, right? No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, we said something about Larson the Fair. You said that. And Larson, my first impression of seeing Larson in action was, why are all these people standing in line to get an exorcism? So they never be able to show up. When they get out of bed in the morning, if you're going to an exorcism, their stomach fires off and their mind, is gone, and then they resist in every way. They don't even want to. They don't even get to the place, and they're standing in line looking at their watch like waiting for a ticket to the theater. And then they get out there and they tell you, I didn't even know I was possessed. And so Bob Larson started praying or whatever. Yeah, thanks, Bob. You put them in, you take them out.
Well, as I said, my first case of possession, the guy bolted out of the church, and he ran so fast I couldn't catch him. I was afraid he was going to run into traffic.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you said with Bob Larson, that's an oppression if there's something there coming up. It's not a possession.
Yeah, maybe we can throw in liability as a topic on next week's episode about paranormal investigations. Yeah. Okay, let's see. So, Farah,
what?
Let's put that question upon you.
All right, repeat the question, please.
Sound like you, Sarah. Now you said what?
Well, I'm trying to juggle, both chats. And it's like, how's this thing? It's like, okay, honey, can you please have a split screen and, try and make sure you get comments and feedback from people?
I'm going to have to hold a cue card. Yeah, we're still figuring out the hand cues.
2 chat rooms myself. One on the phone, one on the laptop.
So, yeah, exactly. I was going to bring the phone in here, but I didn't charge it up, so, Okay, so please rephrase the question. We're talking about possessions and what exactly, let's clarify, dear.
Yeah, that was relating to the kind of the two-part questioning and related to the same thing. It's like, how do you know you're possessed? And is it possible to not know that you're possessed when you are, Or do you always know when you're possessed? I think we had that topic in 2013 with some people too. That second
from the people that I've known that are possessed. Okay, I'm going to tell you this straight up. They don't want to know, or they don't know at all. Because I know I'm crazy. I know I am totally past certifiable. I probably ought to be on medication, given an ankle bracelet, and let out every weekend. But, you know, I'm too outspoken, and I'd probably lead the charge of people jumping off the rooftop and playing with parachutes. So they don't let me inside the walls. When you're talking about possession, you're talking about a situational effect on the psyche and the body, okay, folks, that occurs in... See, God doesn't allow the demons to possess you 100% of the time. So you're going to have jogs of an hour, 4 hours, 6 hours, 6 minutes where your consciousness takes a back seat. And you don't remember where you got some money, how you got lipstick all over you, how you rolled in mud. You're not going to remember what happened to my whole day. I know I went to work. These lapses in time and lapses in memory are clues that either A, you could be having a sleep issue, or you could have a demonic issue. So people generally don't know. The few people that have actually willingly said, yeah, I definitely want, I want to worship this guy, and I, know he's not God, and I know he's going to give me whatever I want, they don't care. They're all in. They're, bangers to the wall, all in, I'm just going to go for it because I want what I want right now. Give it to me. Yeah. Whereas the people don't know that there was that one gal in New York. Remember her? She was so sweet. We had to get a priest for her.
Yeah.
Her fiance was so scared, and she was scared too. She was so scared. She was so sweet. She was crying. She's like, I just don't know what happened. So she actually lost her job. She lost a couple jobs, I think, because of this time lapse that she just didn't know what was going on. We knew the source. We knew what had happened. So it was just a matter of time of her regaining full control of her body, senses, and faculties. So possessions, kitties, it's rare, very, very, very rare, and it's more common that people invite a possession in, and when somebody is truly possessed, they usually have no clue what's going on. Fortunately, because that would be very, very scary. It's bad enough I live inside of me.
Yeah, they know what to look for, just like with a haunting. How many people live in a house for 5 years and they don't realize the hardships and misfortunes and the illnesses are all from an infestation or the crawling sound, the squirrels in the wall sound. So the same thing can happen with possession. You may not even see the signs, waking up and your bed has some sort of vibration to it. Waking up in different parts of the house, just like my wife was talking about. And if they don't pay attention to those things and they put a psychological or medical label on everything, I mean, they will be totally unaware when they fully go under because they are subdued, psychologically. Let's see who's next on the plate there. We are serving up Deb Johnson.
Oh, gosh, her and that dinosaur.
Everybody walk the dinosaur. Dinosaur. Yeah, the green guy. And I heard they glued it back together. That was nice of them.
That was mean. Should have sewed him.
Sitting on the shelf now, it's all glued back together. So I could wave with his little dinosaur. Hi, Deb. Sorry, we should have had Ralph Sarchi on that for that part. That dinosaur is his favorite. All right, Deb, what do you got? What's the question again? What happened to Deb? Oh.
Did we lose Deb?
I'm here. I'm talking up a blue streak. I forgot I had muted you guys.
No. You love us so much, you just mute us. I know how you are.
Deb's always out producing and producing. Okay, Deb, go ahead. Start from the beginning.
I'm talking up a blue streak, and you're going, where is she? I'm going right here, and I'm looking at the phone, and I muted you. Okay, what's the question?
Oh, merciful heavens. Now we got to play What's the Question again? It's like spin the bottle. Every time we ask a question, it's like just spin it.
I know we were talking about the T-Rex, and we should have had, I know the head was glued back on, and we should have had Ralph back on. And I said, yeah, he would have been good because he had a good story to go with that T-Rex.
Oh, my gosh. Ken just wanted us to go around the table and just talk about possessions. And, do people know when they're possessed, Deb? Or, do they have an idea what's going on with them? Can they just, knock on your door and say, hey, I'm possessed. You want to have fun with me?
No, when a person is possessed, they have no clue, no idea they're possessed. They know absolutely nothing because their body is taken over by the evil one. They don't know nothing until once they come out of possession, you tell them what had happened. And even then they don't believe you. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't believe. When they're possessed, it's like they're totally asleep.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be totally scary.
Yeah. It's like they're not there. So they have no clue that they are possessed. Only the people around them, what they witness and what they've seen. And because they speak in foreign tongue, or they'll levitate.
Yes.
And, levitation is something to really witness. Mm-hmm. It'll make every hair on the back of your neck stand up. It'll give you the goosebumps, the chicken skin, and that'll make you wake up in a hurry. When you see somebody start floating across the floor or rising up, from the bed. Yeah, so that'll give you a wake-up call.
Totally. And not needless to say, if you live with somebody that's possessed.
If you what? Oh,
if
live
you
with
live
somebody
with somebody that's possessed, that's a hell of a wake-up call.
Yeah, it's like,
It's
exactly.
not funny, but it's funny because it's like there's no other bloody explanation.
Ed would bring out, even though we were suffering and going through all that, Ed would always crack a joke about something, even about that. And you know what? We would laugh because what else can you do? You can't do nothing else, but, it's like, is this really happening, And he would make jokes and we would make jokes back. And we would just deal with it because we dealt with it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That some people would criticize us for laughing about some topics. I mean, they're new to them. We've become a little bit desensitized to it. We also lived in the secular world our whole life. Even as Franciscans, we're still secular Franciscans. So it's not too hard to actually room with a possessed.
Exactly.
Or no one run into more often. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the front, I mean.
Well, actually, we stayed on the floor and let the possessed sleep in the middle of us, so that if he started to rise up, we could hold him down, or if he started attacking one of us, we were able to hold him down.
Yeah.
I mean, at first it scared us, but we had no choice. We had to step up to the plate. We had to, do what we had to do.
You had to protect him.
All right, everybody, let us know if you can see us, hear us, speak us. Or not. And, okay, see if we're live or not. People in there, you checking? It says streaming. So let's just resume, huh? That can't be right. Can somebody verify that? Right. Okay, let's get all the people back here.
You gotta call Deb, honey.
Yeah, it says we're on.
That's so cool.
Okay,
yes, I'm here.
We're actually resuming on the video, so don't you love it?
How
They get everything complete with the technical difficulties. Okay, so now Mike's coming in.
Hello?
Hello.
I have to manually dial because I don't
Very
have him
strange,
stored
huh?
because I didn't do it yet.
You did not
and
do
Skype.
it.
6.
Uh-oh, who do we lose?
I don't know. I think he's playing video games.
That's so
all right,
weird.
Here we go. And
Says Facebook says it has trouble playing the video. Actually has trouble not constantly playing with everything because of system-wide collapse at times. They only left it alone for a bit. Jennifer says she can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, Christopher?
We got a blue screen crash. It could have been the software we're using, too. So that's the first time we got that. Hey, but we're back. Don't you love it? It's like, if you got to love Facebook.
This is a lot easier than last time.
We actually resumed. We didn't. The stream actually like picks off. It doesn't end. It's just like it didn't kick us out. We scheduled the live stream, and it wouldn't let us in. So this is us pushing a live stream, on instance, and I rebooted the computer. Not on purpose, but.
I can hear you now, Ken. I can hear you now.
Great, excellent, excellent.
All right, what were we talking about when we were so rudely interrupted? What the heck was that all about? Well, let's see.
All right, I left off at possessions. No, a person does not know when they're possessed.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, how wild. Yep. Jennifer says she can hear us and see us, so cool.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hi, Jennifer.
We are off, folks. Or on, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
So how do you know if your in-law, your husband, or wife is possessed?
You got some magic powder?
We get the most requests, right?
You got some magic powder you're going to shake in their water?
Well, that's kind of the question, too, because
it totally is.
Most of the time, it's like the guy's not calling me. It's funny because the guys will just say she's nuts. The gals will say he's possessed.
Right.
It's like, I don't think I had any calls in the last 5 or so years. I have to think about that. And where the gal, wasn't, it was a guy calling saying his wife's possessed, except maybe once, so I don't know if, guys always make everything into logic, like, oh, it's just normal, they just need drugs or take a pamperin or whatever.
I know, right?
I don't know. Oh, he's possessed. Yeah, he's possessed. So I don't know. Maybe they're right. I know the computer's possessed. Yeah, but I apologize for that. So this is what we call live. Hey, remember the old days of Merton Bell? Yeah, Melton Burrow. I was too young, or too old, whatever.
Melting Burrows?
Melton Burrow in live comedies. I got the Jerry Lewis collection of the old Colgate Comedy Hour. But live...
Well, I used to watch him. That was Uncle Milty.
Oh, Uncle Milty.
Oh, really? That was his name.
That's better than what they call women today, Auntie Milfy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I said that out loud. I apologize for me and the pygmies.
There's another Facebook infraction right there.
That's right. I'm going to get kicked off. It's got to be hate speech. Oh, merciful heavens. I'm going to have to go to confession. I can't believe I said that.
And the pygmies in Australia can't believe you either. All right. Let's see. Is anybody left on that, Christopher? You didn't get a crack at that, did you?
No, we want him to crack it.
Crack it.
I've got kind of a short response, and I actually have a short question. But of course, I'm not very tall, so I keep
Okay, put the question in after. Yeah, you can ask the question.
Well, first of all, my response would be, of course, still learning this, but from what I've been reading and just things like that, is that possession itself, outright possession, is not common. And so when these people are experiencing something, my gut level at this point is that they're in the midst of some stage. But as everyone has already said, when you're outright possessed,
yes,
you are pretty much out of it and you don't know. But if they're still aware and still know something's going on, then they're at some stage of the whole process.
Yep.
Now, my question is, when they are bothered by everything and have some clue of what is that something not right is going on, is that probably the promptings of the guardian angels, God, saying, hey, something's not right and you need to look into this?
I mean, when something's not going on as in a possession? No other stage or all stages?
probably all stages, like, hey,
Yeah.
this isn't right.
I'll answer
Is that
one
the prompting of like their guardian angel coming in, like their voice, so to speak, or is it the Lord saying, you're not right?
Yeah, I think the 3 a.m. Phenomenon, I think that's your guardian angel letting you see that, because it doesn't gain the demonic anything to let you see 3 a.m., especially if your clock is 5 minutes fast in standard universal time. Those type of things, they think, do play a part. And so if you see it's 3 a.m. and then that tells you something, it means you can act. It means you can bless your room, start saying prayers. You can offset your sleep pattern that might be affecting you one way. You're in your physical health.
Like Ken, the person who is the one that's going to be possessed, or is possessed, but maybe not possessed at that moment, when he's not under full-blown possession, he will see the evil one come to him. He will see the evil one. Okay? He will see Satan and his minions. And he can describe them. That's when he's not in full-blown possession. That's when he's scared and he wants help. But once he goes under full-blown possession, he's no longer there.
Right.
Okay? You can see the person there, and they're under possession, but that's not them at that time. So therefore, they don't know they're possessed until the priest or other witnesses happen to see them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's keeping in line with the topic. Chris, what was that general question on that? To make sure that they got that, and everybody else does too. Thanks for that input, Deb. That was a good one.
You mean my question?
Yeah.
Is, say someone is in the process of, demonic oppression, infestation, all that stuff. They somehow, they know something's off. They're thinking things that in no way have they thought before, sacrilegious things, blasphemous things.
Yes.
They're avoiding church. Just all this stuff. Is that disturbance, that them knowing, hey, I don't know what's going on here? Could that be the voice of, so to speak, the voice of the guardian angel saying, you need to be aware, something's off? Is that the Lord? Is that, and that was my question is, you don't have to be levitating and spitting, pea soup everywhere, but because by faith we know that the Lord does send help, and part of that grace is, as we said before, part of it, if you're in tune with, what you're supposed to be doing in your prayer life, you're in tune with the Lord, you have those spiritual ears on. So if someone is like, I don't know what's going on, something is off, I normally don't, this isn't how I behave normally, this isn't how I think normally. Yeah. Could that be more than themselves?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess this might be an answer into what I was saying before that. Also, is I tell people a lot of times, I said, the fact that you understand and know what's going on here, that you're seeing it, instead of it working below the surface and ruining your life, I think that's a good thing. It's a blessing that it's revealed itself to that level, even when you actually see a manifestation. Of course, it's hard to say it's a matter, it's like you're getting scratched and attack, or even more serious stuff like raped or, tripped down steps. Then I'd say no, I was just going way past that. But in early stages, it's like we talk about how many years did they ruin your life with events and hardships and misfortunes and everything for the last 5 years, like that one case in Philadelphia, and they can work below the surface and totally ruin your life, ruin your health and everything. So when it finally shows up, it's a blessing, isn't it, Michael?
Yep, absolutely. Ken, too, I want to add too, a couple of the possessions I work with, during the stages of possession, right up to before, like you said, they had the events that were horrible to them, like they were molested or sickness or something like that. But then there was a primary spirit that was talking to them. It was like the lead spirit or something. It would have presented itself as a false angel or some spirit nobody else could see, and they would communicate back and forth with this, thinking they had some sort of gifting or something other people couldn't see.
Yeah, like it tricked them to pretend to be a spirit guide, or it was helpful,
Right.
or helping to find their keys, and there's some backstories a lot of time on the more serious oppression, possessions, and that's what we got to keep in mind too. Let's see, that's everybody on that one, except for Farah. We got to wait for her to come back. That's funny. We got kicked out of here, so it's like we lost our opportunity to put a break. I had a cool splash screen where I could have just came in here and I would say, "We'll be right back after these commercial messages." But seriously, the show must go on, huh?
Right.
So we'll have that question gone in. That one can go in many directions, but yeah, they prefer to work below the surface because when you remember the old adage that the devil's greatest advantage is when he makes you believe he doesn't exist. So
That's right.
no better than that, then it can be explained by scientists, your furnace guy, or people with squirrel cages, anything like that. I guess we'll move on to the next question. So someone asked, and I guess this is significant. I think I'll wait on that one. That was actually two questions. Can they be possessed without knowing it? Does a person know they're possessed? Love you too, babe. Oh, here. Okay, here we go. Haunted house after postnatal. Baby is born, the mother has a child. Psychological state of the mother is not known. And then those kind of elements, you can just add on what you think it might be variables. Let's go around here and discuss how could a house become suddenly haunted with what they call a malevolent spirit. Something that seems to be darker in its nature after they have had an innocent child show up. And even one time the mother goes rushing in the room and the baby's picked up and dropped. So there's always elements they're not revealing, but let's see if we can come up with like 10 scenarios why having a baby and might actually stir or start something up. And we'll just start around the room. We could start with Christopher, and then we'll go to Farah after that. Okay, that's good, because I don't want to take the floor on that since I introduced it. Drop my pen. Hold on. I'll never find it again. Okay, we got a new pen though. All right. So Christopher, did you hear that one? Do you have any thoughts about that scenario? Some of these things are case study, but we want to see what the logical mind tells you. Your seminary training. Let's hear what everybody's got to say about this. Because their psychological elements always mean spiritual too.
Right. If a house suddenly becomes haunted and the demonic activity picks up after the birth of a child, my thought would be, it's not too deep. It's you're bringing in, innocence. You're bringing in innocence, which is such a target. And they don't care what age. It's just that innocence. It's that fresh creation, and it's going to be more to target the parents than it is the baby, of course. Especially the mom. The mom is, suddenly after 9 months is detached physically from the baby, and emotions run high and everything else, and guess what? Here comes this presence, and there you go. But like I said, I think it's more to get after the parents than it is the baby itself. But the baby does symbolize that innocence.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the ideas tossed around, was like the spirit in the house relates to the child as though they lost a baby themselves. They always come up with this, like, oh, the spirit relates to it, like she was and that's what'll happen. A psychic medium comes over to the house and she says, there was a mother here who lost her child in crib death. So she relates to the child, and so that's why she picked the baby up and threw her. Maybe, do you think she killed it? And now she wants to kill your baby? The question, Farah, is the scenario is if a mother gives birth to a child, she has the baby, it has its own room, and they're in a house that they moved in recently, and they were there during the pregnancy too. But suddenly, after the baby's born, now it's suddenly haunted by a malevolent spirit. In other words, it's got a nasty disposition. So, we want to know. We're looking for ideas, and it can be a top 10 list, really. Different reasons why you think that this is possible.
Why it's possible that the baby is possibly being disturbed by a malevolent spirit?
Yeah. Top one.
Okay, just thinking of the last few people that I've talked to, the father's into heavy porn, has an affair, is having a mistress. There's something going on with the father, or the mother is actually cheating on the husband. The mother is dabbling with psychics, tarot cards, is looking outside the marriage. She is, internally internalizing a lot of stuff that is going on in the house. And, in relationship to her primary relationship with her husband, she has dissatisfactory relationship with her exterior relationships, like, her original family and her brothers and sisters. So there's no supporting. And a lot of times we see this kind of strange stuff that, it's not really, it's demonic, but it's not. It's not, people can't, think, well, I need an exorcist. They're going to take authority, they can shoo this stuff out. It's usually the minor stuff in our life that invites it's like a cockroach infestation. You let your Uncle Harvey, who's, traveled all over, move in, and you bring his boxes in. And where are they sitting? They're in your garage. And you're like, oh, yeah, sure, you got to get some stuff out. Yeah, bring your boxes in. So he brings the boxes in, and a couple of baby cockroaches crawl across the floor. That's what these are. They're baby cockroaches. They're not the big guys that have been around for like millions of years. He's not like bringing the infestation. He's, look at my pet cockroach. I'm going to breed him with mama cockroach. No, not that kind of thing. So that's what I look at first, is I look at what is, because when you look at a child experiencing this, you have to look who is in charge of that child. Is the child adopted? Is the child, is it being cared for by the parents? And usually the parents have a lot of soul wounds that, they're dealing with and they're trying to come to terms with. There is nothing that rocks a cradle than a baby in a marriage. And if two people are not on solid footing with God, woo, the waves are rolling. That's all I got to say about that. So let's go pass around the table.
That's a lot to say.
Apologize. I don't mean to be a hog. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you never can ignore.
Let's throw it at somebody else. Come on, Ken.
Yeah, now we go to Deb, or what's the other
Michael,
fellow's name?
my turn.
Just kidding.
My turn?
I'm reading the bullet points now. It's my
you're
turn.
pushing me out into the circle here. Okay. Well, I'm going to agree with everything that Farah said. And then I'm going to add this So what I know about the occult is that demons, when you put a baby child in trauma together, it chums the water. So, and then on top of that, what we're seeing now, like what Farah said, with the way the mamas and the parents are treating the baby, we now have trauma through type A trauma because of detachment issues, which is starting minor stuff. So they're stirring up stuff in the house, so the baby's affected and traumatized. And that's why the demon is so interested in the baby. The occultists and Goat Boy and their little statues are big on children, especially babies, because that's how they start fracturing their minds. They can use them later.
Exactly.
Well, how about the mothers suffer postpartum?
Yes, I was going to say that to you. Absolutely. Yep, you got that going on too. And that's just, that energy is just feeding the demonic.
That's
right.
The postpartum is a fracture too. Because
Yeah, definitely.
God did not give us a spirit that would separate us from our children, where we felt like, we were
Exactly.
helpless and that we couldn't help this child, we couldn't nurture it. It's like, colic is natural in kids. Why would a mother want to choke the living squat out of a kid? That's not natural.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see that the demon calls in the psychic. Oh, it's a mom losing her baby. So now you have sympathy for the demon that's causing all the torment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's so common too. Look at the Annabelle doll. And the reason I mention this is because famous case. Now there's not a movie coming out about it. The nurse is all bad. Poor Annabelle Higgins, the little girl, blonde hair, carries the doll. One of those rag dolls. And she misses her mommy. God's so cruel, and he takes the guardian angel away and everything, and just leaves the child in this darkness.
And speaking of, children bothered, I apologize before we get to you, Christopher. Let me bring this up real quick because this goes to the children thing. Okay. Somebody just posted on Facebook this innocuous picture. Okay, Ken and I don't do pictures because, number one, pictures are nice, but they lie. We're photographers. We know that there's wisps, there's all kinds of, anomalies and everything else. So pictures don't mean anything to us. But this picture was pretty bloody obvious. You've got 3 young boys, probably between the ages of maybe 14 and 17, and they're hanging out in the woods, facing, like the edge of a campfire, facing out in the woods. One of them's like in the crook of a tree. And guess what? He's got a beer in his hand. And on the very edge of these dark woods, everybody's like, what is this image? And it looks like this cute little girl with probably blonde hair, a little plaid dress on, and all you see is like the wispy outline. And the question was like, what kind of spirit do you think this is? And everybody's like, oh, it's an alien gray. Oh, it's a wee folk. Oh, that's a little child. I'm like, it's dead wrong. It's wrong. Get away from it. Yeah. And you think, okay, we're talking about children here, folks. And Christopher, I'm looking to see your comment. What sort of demon presents itself as a little tiny girl child to 3 boys getting it on with the beer in the woods?
Mm-hmm.
Not an innocent one.
No. Certainly one to, turn around and run the other direction.
Exactly.
We're talking about malevolent. That would be malevolent. And that's the seductive one. It's not
good point.
outright
Thank you.
filling things, blood coming out of the walls, screaming, terrorizing you at night. It's, hey, wow, you're cute. It's just kind of that pulls you in. Yeah. If like I said earlier, and like we've all said, if you're not connected, then how easily are you swayed?
And also, the boys are drinking.
Yep.
They're under the influence.
Yep.
And that also, they become weaker.
Mm-hmm.
They're easier to manipulate and to take over.
Yep.
And to cause them havoc like they've never seen before.
And
if they're drinking beer, they must be doing other things.
You got that right. My point here is, Christopher, because you are, a clinical therapist and your specialty is dealing with a lot of substance abuse cases, is, folks, we talk a lot about the spiritual here and the supernatural here. There is a rooted organic thing that I'm pointing out here, and it's reason. And reason dictates most of what we react to. All right? There is no reasonable explanation why you should be looking at a cute girl's little misty form in the woods. So our brain, our organic brain, cannot determine truth from a lie. The organic little misty girl looks like truth to us. Why wouldn't we believe it's misty truth? That's the problem here, folks.
Farah, that reminds me of, from, it's that first fall, when the text says, and she saw the tree, and it was good and desirable, and then she was suckered. There she went. It overrode her natural reason that was having grace before the fall, and here it looked very good.
Yes.
And so she overrode her reason and said, well, said it was good for me, so here I go.
But yeah, that's another masquerade tale there. I tell you what.
That's
Yeah, and that brings up
true.
the other note again too. You know, there's an old joke, and I even heard Dean Martin tell it, not in person. Hey, Dean, you want some more martinis? You know, but it was something like some of these drunk jokes they used to tell, like, you know, when the wife says like, when you go in the bar, the devil goes in with ya, and he's like, if he does, he's buying his own drink. You know, those kind of things and stuff. And it's like, you know, my mom didn't like that, and my mother-in-law didn't like those jokes because, you know, you dealt with an alcoholic once. That's all you need, you know, an abusive alcoholic. It's not funny.
You know, we're talking about children, Ken, and we're talking about, you know, the infestation and the potentialities. You know, Michael just brought up an excellent thing in chat that we really, you know, haven't even talked about. But he was saying that when you make a deal, let's say that you and I, we sell, our neighbor next door, we know our neighbor is psycho crazy, and he kills his dog in this ritual sacrifice, and we're like, wow, that's really sick and wrong. Let's call the newspaper, you know, oh yeah, here, I got the bones, I'm going to sell you the bones. That deal we just made, that exchange we just made for money, off of something that is unnatural, ungodly, and not of God, that's going to affect our children and our children's children. And Michael just brought that up. Michael, you want to address that real quick? Not necessarily the people we were talking about, but the affectation of selling something that should not be sold. That affects children.
Yeah.
Yep, we go back to the demonic or lawyers, right? It's just, look at what Satan did in Luke 4 to Jesus. I can give all this to you if you just make a deal with me, you know? And it's right there. And so if you make a financial agreement to, like, code around somebody's objects or demonic, like we see these shows like Demonic Possessions, or as Zach Bagans has, you're making a deal with the enemy to make finances off them. And not only that, you're giving the enemy a platform.
Yep.
And as we said, it can result in a huge curse, whether illness or financial, that goes for generations until it's revoked.
Yeah, that's true. It's taxing to such a degree that it's got to be revoked, you know, breaking curses, prayers, renunciation, and all that stuff. And there's a gal I talked to the other day. You know, they have ailments all through the whole family. And then you look, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like they got the symptoms of a demonic curse, you know, coming from the mother's side, and probably the father too, because the father died. And I heard this near the end of our lengthy conversation. The father, something along the lines, reacted very negatively at a Bible being brought in the house. It's like, what's that all about? And that's,
yeah, right.
Satanists aren't like Wiccans. Wiccans like put the star on. You know, they buy New Age music. You know, they're proud to be Wiccans. Satanists have to hide it. That you have to. It's part of the, when you're real Satanist, not when you're these guys who listen to Ozzy Osbourne, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, you have to be secretive, and you wear suits, and, you know, you don't get to wear leather jackets and upside down pentagrams and listen to Slayer in your car. You got to listen to Neil Diamond or whatever. You know, just to keep the wool over the eyes. That's part of the, you know, you make that promise, you know, and don't break the promises in that one, huh? What am I telling Michael that one for, huh?
No kidding.
Yeah, right.
But that's the name of the game, isn't it? Yeah.
Christopher, do you have anything to add legalistically or possibly generationally to what we were talking about?
You know, if you know, if we focus just on the whole covenant aspect with this whole thing, it's, you know, it's,
yes.
I mean, it's pretty laid out in Deuteronomy when he, you know, says, if you follow me, I will do this and this and this, and pretty much, you know, to your children's children and blah blah blah. But, you know, also the flip side, if you don't, guess what? This will happen. Da da da, down to your children and your children's children. You know, God always looks, I mean, he looks at the present moment, but at the same time, he is always looking at the bigger picture. And so we're the ones that are short-sighted because we worry so much about now. We're focused on the now, and we tend to, oh no, what's going to happen, what's going to happen? Well, you know, why am I having to carry this cross, Lord? It's too painful. Why are you asking this of me? It's because God's seeing the bigger picture and saying, it's because I know it's going to help lead you to salvation. I know it's going to do this. So, covenant-wise, yeah, God's always going to look at it more than us.
Yeah.
He's always going to look at it, and, it's kind of the breaking generational curses thing, Yes, in our past, which, it's kind of that if we forget where we come from, but my mind just totally lost it.
Okay.
I think you know what I'm trying to say. If you forget where you come from, if you forget your roots,
yep,
something. But anyway,
yeah.
if you don't know that, if you don't know kind of your family history and all that, is it any wonder that some people actually are having to go through certain things? It's because, hey, Uncle so-and-so back in 200 years ago decided to strike up a deal, and it wasn't so pretty, and guess what? God's like, oh, okay, well, I'm still going to be true to my word, and
That's
sorry,
If no one else is. Yep, man doesn't keep his word very well. God does. That's called a covenant.
Exactly.
That's interesting because that brings it on to the question about baptism. It's like anybody works with Ralph or, some of these others, Ralph Sarchi, we understand the importance of a baptism. Baptism, that's what we're going to discuss in this circle here, and hear little bits and pieces from everybody in this little group. The significance of baptism in breaking generational curses, and why would you suggest that to a house that's infested with demonic spirits?
Exactly.
And how much will that help? And so that's the topic for the roundtable on this one. So who should we start with there? Deb, I guess we haven't heard from Deb
that's
in a
right.
few minutes.
We haven't heard
She hates
Deb
that too.
undo
It's like,
her microphone.
What?
Okay, Deb, undo your microphone.
What's the question? I was writing in the chat room.
Oh, that's okay. Deb's,
She's handling everybody for us. So.
Deb's on her laptop in the other room.
Okay.
Deb, the significance of baptism. Why does Ed, Ralph Sarchi, we say, are your children baptized? They even said that in the movie The Conjuring. They asked the Perone family on the movie anyway if their children were baptized. What is the significance of this? And how is
baptism?
Yeah.
That these children, when you have them baptized, that their soul belongs to Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
That's part of their sacrament.
Yeah.
The next sacrament is communion, then confirmation, and the last one is marriage.
Yeah, and confirmation is actually confirming the baptism, so you make a second choice at it, and it goes further than that, of course, than the baptism. Some of these denominations don't have you get baptized until you actually are at the
old enough to make your own choice.
Yeah, but that's dangerous.
But I also know people that have had babies in the hospital, and they won't even leave the hospital until their babies are baptized, in case they get into an accident going home, or something happens, or the baby becomes sick. Right. This way, if something should happen to the baby, the soul goes to Jesus Christ.
Deb has worked in the nursing field.
It's some interesting information I had from Father Gary Thomas during a talk about this, was that the baptism is actually a mini exorcism.
Exactly.
It goes back to Genesis 2, where man was given dominion, named the animals, named things, because that has an influence, a proclamation in the spiritual realm of authority. So the baptism is a mini exorcism that it's spoken over to us and it conveys in the spirit realm.
Yes, I agree.
That's a good
one.
Absolutely. Christopher, you'd like to add on to that one?
Yeah, it was something that Michael had said kind of hit me. It made me think about, I think that what he said, it is tied in with exorcism. But of course, that is fundamental thing. It's, we're baptized into Christ's death and resurrection. Okay, that is our entrance once again into the covenant. The covenant, as I said before, it's the idea of family. So now we are now, we're His by nature, by, just because He created us, now we are His by grace. We're His spiritually. He has laid the claim on us. And that is not a legalistic, that is saying, you are my child. And so, because of that, God has a personal vested interest in you, in me. And so, He's going to give us the means to fight. He's going to fight for us. But at the same time, He's going to say, you have to do your part. You have to do your part. I love all my children. I've got 4 children, for those that don't know. Early on, my wife and I did everything, fed them, cleaned them. But unless I'm wanting to do exactly that for a teenager, which should drive me at the wall, I have to say, hey, you need to pick up your own room now. You need to dress yourself. You need to feed yourself. And, kind of what God does now. Hey, I carried you when you were little, but now you're growing in spiritually, so you need to kind of do your part and step up to the front lines and do your part of the battle. And so, just kind of my rambling thought about that baptism.
Yeah, it's not a rambling thought, is it, Farah?
No.
You want to add anything to that?
No, go ahead, jump on it.
All right. There's just more kind of a different analogies to look at it on this, in addition to what's the obvious, and that's that the old covenant was dissolved. That's why you don't hear of Jewish people. You ever hear of Jewish people being called in, even on TV? Nothing against the Jewish people, okay? I mean the Jewish religion, not the people, not the nationality. Because there is no deliverance, because there is still what they call it, prayers of deprecation. Farah's good with these terminology.
Yes, they are.
Is where you have to plead with God to deliver your child from the demons.
They're deprecating the prayers. Those are the minor rite prayers that we say, yes.
That's your only choice. You cannot insert Jesus' name because you're not Christians and you don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, unless you're a Messianic Jew, but that's not Jewish. That's a different type of Christian denomination. So when the new covenant came, the old one was broken. It's symbolically the old temple was basically split in half with an earthquake. And that wasn't enough of a sign or anything like that. When Jesus died on the cross, that was the only way, the truth, and the life. That's what He meant. He meant it literally, the way, the truth, and the life. We encountered a demonic. There's no other way to get rid of it. The best you can do is appease it. That's all the pagans do, is appease. So what we're left with is, we could either accept Jesus, go the way of God wants us to, or choose some other way, science, or sometimes you can do it with psychology. It is a battle of the wills, but it is very hard, and most people, like losing weight, you got to join Weight Watchers or you got to join a gym. You can't do it on your own. You have to go to college. You just can't pick up and read a book, and suddenly most people are like that anyway. But when you baptize, you enter into the new covenant. And then second, you are a member of the Holy Family. You are now a generation of them, not by Adam and Eve, but by Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And suddenly, that is a different thing. And you're out of the, any kind of a hiatus state where you're kind of nothing. And some references are saying that you're almost born like, not children of the devil, but and the devil has more access to you than God when you're in an early age, unless you go into this new covenant. That's why it's very important. Because just think, if you go and wait until you're 13 years old to get baptized, there's 12 years the demonic will have influence over you. Very strong influence. So, and this covenant's very important too, because as soon as you enter the body in the church under the new covenant, saying Jesus' name is not just using Jesus' name and the demons reacting to it. They're also reacting to your authority under the covenant. Now, what that level is another story in itself, because it varies, but I think that's a kind of a long and drawn out answer, but I hope that if anybody has any questions. Oh, by the way, this is the time we can have the call-ins. Post the number again, everybody in the chat room. You can post questions from the chat room. It will be directly related from at least Deb or Farah, who are monitoring the chat room. We're not really, since this is Facebook Live, we're not sure how many people are watching the replies. You know how replies kind of pop by in real time with the likes and stuff like that. I'm not really sure. It's just we didn't really get our event created, and this one's a different one than the other one. People think, it's done. It's 5 minutes. We're going to bed. We don't know. We don't know how many people are going to be alive tonight, but we had to start somewhere, didn't we? Appreciate everybody though, for hanging on and listening and going with the show. We got some more questions, but let me see. Anybody in the room have a question you want to pose that you can bring up and let everybody respond to? A friend, something you think would be a good idea to bring up to the round table? This is the time to do it. Anything at all? It's not.
I guess not. I think we can just go ahead and go on with the last few questions of the hour, dear.
Mm-hmm.
We're just chatting away in the chat room.
I know, everybody's just like, and it's really, really
thing.
nice. I want to thank everybody for listening tonight because, we've been able to, keep the flow of the chat room going as well as the live video. And the live video is fun to comment on, yet a lot of discussion happens in the chat room. So thank you all for joining both places or one or the other. I like to be in the chat room because I like to hang out with people. Live video kind of I get a little distracted. So
yeah, it's so fast. It's so fast. YouTube is going to be worse. And
YouTube will be totally worse.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can figure out how we can get this simulcasted on YouTube and on Facebook if it doesn't drag down the CPU. Obviously, I can't record and stream at the same time. That was one of the problems we had. But one of the questions is about haunted property. And I kind of cringe when I hear a couple bought the house, bought not rented, because it's harder to get out from underneath it. But the identifying property versus person versus, whatever the element, person, place, or thing can be complex. My wife's got she's really good at researching the property, the history and all that, and that sort of thing. What it comes down to is how difficult is it, and what exactly, let me see what the question is, because it's related to that. Can it be solved? Because it does seem like people will be in there and they say they never solve it when it turns out that it was more the property. What can solve it? What are the worst case scenarios? Let's see, Farah, do you want to start with that one? This one's right up your alley.
About worst case scenarios for property?
Yeah, you can start with the worst case scenarios, because it's like, how do you solve it when you're stuck at a house and you got this property? It seems like the property is itself tainted. And so, in other words, cleansing the house isn't going to last very long. You're going to still be mowing the lawn and get shoved, or who knows.
Well, as you know, folks, there's a lot of things that, we wrote about in the Haunted Investigations book that it's going to give you a lot of pointers. As Michael Norton knows firsthand, when you are coming from a spiritual perspective, there are spiritual markers that are going to be obvious. Whether people are sleeping, whether people are having hot, cold, whether they're having physical affectations in certain areas, smells, whether they are getting angry for no reason, whether they are losing moments in time. There's going to be certain signs that tell us there's something supernatural and something spiritual that's at work. Now, if you are coming at this dead cold, and you're new to investigations, and let's say you're working for a deliverance team, and you're just one of those fabulous people that, pray, and you're a super support, and you're really not quite familiar with all the supernatural footprints that these things leave, you're going to look for the most obvious signs. You're going to look at You're going to look at such things as topography, groundwater flow. You're going to look at obvious things such as you're going to look at structure. You're going to look at the structure of the house and the soundness of the house and the age of the house. You're going to look at mental health, like, Christopher, the first things, that Christopher, last case, we have to find out what medications people are on, what medications they're not taking, what they're, within reason, what their medical makeup is. How many surgeries have they have? Did they have brain surgery when they were 2 years old and, or a lobotomy when they were 20? We need to know all of these things add up to a total picture. And depending on where you are in the spectrum of investigation, like I said, if you've had a little bit of experience, a lot of experience, or let's say you've had no experience, you have to start from a point of reason. And that point of reason eliminates every possible thing. Because you don't go in there believing, oh, yeah, there's a demon wandering around the place because they say the shutters move and there's smells in the house. Well, let me tell you, between skunks and rats, dead snakes, dead mice, cat spring, you can get some major funky smells, okay? And from teenagers, animals, wind. I mean, yeah, you know about teenagers, Christopher. There's things that go bump in the night. You don't want to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So it's my opinion, let's let reason rule first. And I'm going to hand it off to you, Christopher.
Well, I did have something just down the road from where I live. We had a young man that rented a house, and he instantly told me that as soon as he rented it, that he was talking with the neighbors, and they were talking, and he said, well, good luck with the haunted house.
Oh, my.
And instantly, the children were reporting like a dark entity that would come out of the closet and scare them while they were trying to sleep.
Oh, my.
And he would hear things move around at night, and he was having problems with the whole electrical, and he saw these, DVDs would fly up and move, and I mean, so he's coming to me, and of course, I kind of took it for what it was, but when he mentioned how there were these small children, one was a toddler, and the second oldest was she was probably about 3 or 4, but just going in, I kind of tried to find something about the property, but I couldn't find any information about that. And like I said, it was a rental, so obviously the people around knew the houses, the reputation of the house, that there was a haunting going on there. But kind of went in and he asked me to come and at least pray, and I brought a blessed crucifix and hung that up in the home, and things seemed to quiet down for all I knew. He didn't report anything else. Children were returned to sleeping through the night, so at least that was good. But a lot of what you're talking about, Farah, he would talk about kind of smells and things like that, and he wasn't stupid. He was peering under with a flashlight, looking under the house, trying to find some logical reason for this. And when he found out I was a bit kooky and what I did with the whole spiritual warfare thing, he thought, hey, here's a crazy guy that I need to talk to. So, like I said, long story short, the kids were able to go back to sleep, and they weren't bothered by anything coming out. So
there you go. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And guess what? Sometimes, did it take a priest to come there with an exorcism? A wizard with a wand? A witch with sage? No, I mean, that's the majority of our work is actually self-help. That they gave you, but you got to use the right methods, right tools. Go to the only and God of gods. The other things aren't gods, but And that brings up an interesting point. But let's before I go and I answer, let's make sure everybody's sounded off on the board. Anybody left on this reply? Did I miss somebody? Deb or Mike? Did you respond?
Michael?
No, you kind of hit on the keynote there, Ken, because a lot of times I tell people, I'm going to help you with this situation, but I'm your sensei. You got to fight. Like you said, we give them the book, you train them up, this is how you do it, because I can't keep coming over your house 2 a.m. every night, praying for your house. And you know what I'm saying, right? We get a call 2 a.m. It's happening again. Well, do something about it.
Thank you.
Right?
Please.
And I'll quit answering those calls, because this is what you need to do. The Holy Spirit in me, the same one in you. Not much difference there. So you have to train them to kick this stuff out. Yeah, and I've been to sites too where I couldn't help the people because they just wanted somebody to do it for them. It's
That's
like, no.
more common now than anything, Michael.
Father Vince Lambert, who was trained with Father Gary Thomas over in your neck of the woods. Well, they were trained in Italy. He said that same thing. He says, there's no magic bullet.
No.
I don't have any magic powers or anything like that. And what are you left with anyway? You're left with your own defenses. And, Spider-Man can't come in every time octopus or whatever comes in.
Right.
And what happens if it's a multiple level and stuff like that, But no, initially when it's really bad, you need a kickstart.
Right,
like
exactly.
When you got to go to the doctor. And then after that, he says, take 2 aspirins and call me in the morning. He doesn't keep you in the hospital, But no, self-help is really the name of the game. And that's been pretty much what I've been doing since, especially since around the end of the 1990s. I found that part of the lack of funds, what became necessity is the mother of invention, so to speak. But no, I would say it's divinely inspired because one way or another, if God's pointing you in the right direction, you listen. The empowered people.
Yes, but I agree with you. Self-help comes first. But after you've done the self-help repeatedly over and over and over,
case,
and if it don't work, you have to get the priest involved.
Oh, yeah. See, most of these cases are self-help, but your case, Deb, this is why we talk about Deb's case. Deb is the most horrific case, that I think is out there on record, outside, it's in the Vatican, too, but that was in the public eye and, more known in the mainstream. And we can't take that for granted. It was way beyond self-help. It was so far that you just had to have it. And afterwards, the after part is where Deb wears the St. Benedict medal. Deb says her prayers, and other family members. And during the process, you're going to Mass every day. You're doing the parts that you need to do. We can't even get people to go to church once a week. Mike knows this, and even Christopher, that the Spirit comes in there, and even George W. Bush even said that faith-based groups seem to have a huge success rate with, the drug and alcohol abuse, recovery. There's something to that, and that's a statistic. On the, this is relevant. Let's see. Let's make sure everybody sound off on this pretty much. Okay.
Yes.
I guess I'll end on that on this topic and move on to the next. Church is built on specific spots, especially in the old days. They often would tear down a pagan temple and they build a church there, and people and so some of these anti-Catholics and all that stuff, they would be like, that proves they're pagans. They got to build it over God or goddess, whatever. No, it was the opposite. It's called counteracting. It's the negative, being counteracted by the positive, which cancels it out. I mean, they even do that in cars and automobiles when they want to reduce the noise. They put in an inverted speaker transducer in the headboard. I mean, the head of the seat or in the dashboard, because it actually offsets the noise in the car. But when you take the sound and you send it out amplified and you had inverted it by 180 degrees for you technicians out there that are in audio, and this works in the same exact way. And they do the same thing for holy days, which you can call holidays, Holiday. Is that a coincidence, Chris, that they use the word holidays? It sounds like it should, if you look at it, it should say holy day. You should probably have an answer for that with your historian side. Oh, we lose Christopher? Christopher.
What?
Oh.
There he is. Yeah, he's got a case of the Debs.
No, you're kind of cutting out a little bit.
Oh.
It must be those keys clicking at 90 miles an hour.
All right. Someone's.
Anyway, let me pull it down. What was the question?
Okay. The question was the word holiday. Doesn't that pretty much like, the origins, HOLIDAY? It sounds an awful lot like it should say holy day.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we know that in the ancient world that certain days were seen as festivals of the gods.
Yeah.
And they would was the whole turnout of the whole city. The king and queen would process up, and they would venerate the images and all of that jazz. And so even the Sabbath day was not a particularly Jewish thing. It was there was an earlier part from Mesopotamia, pagan Mesopotamia, where there was a day set aside, it was Shabbatum, which was a day meant to rest the heart. And of course that came down as the day of rest to us, and of course, the Sabbath day. But holidays, holy days, I think that came about a lot. That division came about a lot. With the division in the church, and for instance, we have a kind of a divisive holy day coming up, Halloween or Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
And it has its pagan origin, ending of the summer, and kind of the high point of the pagan New Year. Yeah. And the church came, and so let's kind of remember our dead at this time. Let's remember our holy men and women. Yeah. The Hallows, and so it became a holy day. But then, of course, and so, people still wanted to dress up, so they said dress up as these holy men and holy women. Well, then when the church split with Martin Luther and all of that stuff, there was a backlash against this practice. And so while the Catholic sections were still dressing up as saints, the non-Catholic sections were saying, remember the pagan creatures and stuff, let's dress up as that. And suddenly it became a holiday, not a holy day. And so therefore we have this big division now. It's kind of, to me, it's a matter of perspectives. I was born on Halloween. I know a lot of, living in the Bible Belt, there's a lot of people that want to call it, fall festival. Then they kind of, I've had people look at me like, you're a Christian though, how can you celebrate Halloween? Because it's my birthday, and for 43 years now, I've never sacrificed to the devil. So, figure, that's just my perspective. And, my kids are getting old enough, they're kind of growing out of the whole trick-or-treating thing, but they know their faith, so.
Yeah, that's a good point, and thank you for the history on that. That's a little extra thing that I did not know or didn't remember. It's hard to say when you've been Catholic for so long, with all these priests and nuns telling a story when we were kids and growing up. I do remember that the All Saints Day, the All Souls Day, which is the Purgatory Souls, was an offset because that was a pagan holiday, and that's what you're basically referring to. And that was a day they used to actually sacrifice. And so in the same way that they build the churches over the old temple grounds that were pagan to offset it, plus, cancels out, the minus. In the same fashion they did that for days too. So that pretty much, I think, explains that a little bit about the property. And this is what we hope to do. I think that, to answer the question with the big one is like, can this ever be solved with this haunted property thing? I think that, what has been done on the property is the big thing. Did you have, I don't know, Chief Eaglestone come out and tell you need to move rocks? And, we were watching, what was the name of that show? Paranormal State. Deb probably even saw this one. And somebody came out, some guy who said he was Native American, and he said to rearrange these rocks. Of course, it didn't work. Big surprise. And that would solve a haunting, at the house, because no one's complaining about the property in general. And I don't know where they get this stuff, but they're, but look at who pretends to be Native American holy men. Most of the time, they're just white guys or or gals. They're not even Native American, and even when they take sage to property, they're not Native American. So there's something wrong with that, regardless of what religion you are. It's like, hey, what do whites say if a guy's Hindu and he just starts grabbing Christian? Well, God and Jesus are a lot more acceptable because he wants to show you, hey, let me show you the power of my son dying and resurrecting from the dead that affects every living person on this planet. If you just accept it, you use the name. So they'll give you a little gray area of being able to use the name, and then you got a certain amount of time, and it won't work again. If you're just going to keep up your pagan practices, ask Solomon about that. And, you can look down and see where Solomon's at. I'm pretty sure. Sorry, Solomon. I don't think you're in a good place.
There was actually a funny ghost adventures, I think about 3 years ago, when they were out in the near Las Vegas, Nevada, on some Indian ground, and they wanted to get blessed by Native Americans. Yes. So the chief comes out and he goes, "I'm going to bless you from the great Father in the sky and his Son and his Spirit." He's the Native American version of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And Zach and those guys were just eating it up. They had no idea he was getting a Christian blessing.
Wow.
Oh, that was funny. That's funny, Michael.
How about that? I know it. Remember we were talking about these poor. It's just so. It's like, why do people assume that every Native American in the United States and Mexico and wherever are all the same religion, like a denomination? Yeah. And we know that, we were talking about just... we're talking about... But there are some...
That peace pipe.
You remember the missionaries and stuff, and luckily they, they didn't cook them and boil them and stuff like they did in some of these other countries. Like, remember the old joke about the missionaries and this big giant black pot on the fire? I swear there was like little cartoons or something about that. Like it was some running joke, the missionaries ended up. But they even did it with Abbott Costello and the Three Stooges, that you end up in some tribal group and you end up and they want to eat you. And they tie you up to a tree and they want to burn you, Or they put you over a fire like they did with Han Solo, and stop by C-3PO and Star Wars, Return of the Jedi. But, we had Kateri of the Mohawks, and what you saw, what was that movie with the Walt Disney cartoon or something like that? That some of these were inspired by the saints. If people had became quite devoted to God and they converted, nations of Native Americans, but not every tribe, because some of them, just like the Americans do, they stayed in their pagan ways. So if you want to cling to, a Native American heritage in general, look at the ones who actually grasp the one true God, the God of gods, the God of all, the creator of all things. And that's what it comes down to, too, is that the Great Spirit, for one Native American, is God the Father in heaven. For another, it could be just like we're talking about with the Freemasons. The grand architect of the universe is Satan. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's not God the Father.
Yep.
So you gotta look a little deep and read. Should we just take one more, maybe?
Yeah, it's already 10:09. Yeah. Michael, how hungry are you? Can we take one more?
I can fast.
It's Michael's dinner time, and we know Mikey likes it because he's hungry and he'll eat anything. But one more, Ken, and we gotta let him go.
Okay. There's a question that's like, as a minister, if a bishop of a certain denomination wants to be able to relay something to their ministers who don't know how to take the calls without actually direct training, what would you tell ministers and priests how to handle a call that's coming in and they themselves can't handle it, or they kind of get like shoestring on the fly thing instead of one of those like, oh, well, have you been saved? Well, if you haven't, get lost. Are you baptized? Get lost. What would you tell kind of a generic response? If, let's say, you're a minister of a church, a priest who's not been informed and educated in your seminary about these matters of spiritual warfare, and you don't know what to do to help the person. My husband's possessed. Can you help me? That doesn't happen nowadays. Didn't you read anything? Go buy a DSM-5. I mean, what would you guys, all each and individually respond on that to advise, a priest or a minister, a parishioner, who is now the pastor of a church? What would you say to them if they're sitting before you and they present this question to you? Who should we start with, Farah?
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
We'll let you.
That's right. Let Deb do it because she's got to turn us off mute.
Let Deb do what?
Great. That's what happens to put.
I'm going to have to repeat the question because I've been in the chat room just chatting away.
I know, right?
Hey, by the way, for you, listeners out there from the radio version of this show, we got the Zad chat room back up again because PhD
Deb wanted emoticons, and Kenny likes his little sister.
Yeah, and I was like thinking, I haven't had times at Zad chat, and since me and Alan and Deb started the show back in 2007, and it's like, why was it working for almost 10 years, and suddenly it acts up? So I thought I'll go back to that. This other one is like, we've had 3 separate problems with it being slow, doesn't connect. It's served by somebody else's server. But, anyway, welcome back to chat, everybody, and we appreciate it. Oh, okay, well,
Okay, what's the question?
Oh, my God.
Aren't you supposed to advertise some books for jewelry?
Michael's got to eat sometime tonight, you guys. Come on, let's get this going.
Okay, Michael, we'll get back to you, Deb.
That's an interesting question because I know it happens on both sides of the fence, whether it's Protestant or Catholic. This stuff is not taught in seminary school, and what they are taught is very academic and not practical application.
Exactly.
So you got to teach that person, like, even though that person's sitting near a pew and you may think they're a Christian, yes, they can have a demon. And that they can't get over that. A lot of these pastors can't. And until it's totally out of their hands, there's a lot of pride in the pulpit, I hate to say that they won't come for help. It's usually the person gets tired of dealing with the pastor and they come looking for help.
Very true.
So, and then by then I have to, we always have to operate humility as a minister, to not, go behind the pastor's back, because I think there's a lot of politics going on. But until they're freed up to work with us, I mean, it's almost a political issue before you even get to the demonic issue.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's what I wrote in my book, Michael, our book that we put out about investigations. You must go to the authority of the person that is in charge. If they go to a Baptist church, that pastor has authority over that soul. You must respect that authority.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
that guy goes to, his Indian guru, whatever, and that's where he prays and that's where he honors, even though we don't acknowledge that and we know that that is not our God, he must remove that and claim the authority of Christ before we can help him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just as if, if he were going to, let's say, a non-denominational and that was his pastor, we have to acknowledge that. If we don't, we have no authority and we have overstepped and we leave ourselves open. That's what people don't understand. They don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have anything to add to that? Of course, Christopher, that's one that you'd have something to say about.
Now, Christopher's our seminarian expert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about when I was in seminary, the one thing that they said was when they would talk about demons, they would talk about, let's not talk too much about them so we don't give too much power to them.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I brought a fresh notebook ready to take notes on this, people. Giving some info. So I was thoroughly disappointed that day. But anyway, as a counselor, I would say you have to meet people where they're at.
Yes.
And if they are calling up, you don't dismiss, you don't feed into it either. It's pretty much like when I see people come into my office, I don't know what's going on. It's a brand new day. I don't know what's going on. I don't know their thought process at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Something that may be going on for them may not be in reality. And so, I would say encourage the pastor, the minister, taking the call. They'll just say, it's an outdated notion. We need to get rid of that. Be a modern Christian. And, listen to them and then go from there. Put aside, the whole thing, the notion of being a Christian leader is put aside yourself.
Amen. Yes, very much
And
so.
be this for the other. So.
Well, you have a really good point, Christopher, because we were talking about that in the chat room earlier, and we were saying that is exactly what the deliverance minister and the exorcist does. We shut ourselves down, and we basically serve the person that we are coming to help by allowing us to stop being us and asking God to please come in and work through us. We're nothing but the vessel for Him to heal, because it's not us. We cannot do it with our own pride and by our own stance. I think that's a really good point.
I'm just thinking to myself, it was like, I know what Christopher said, in his seminar, it's like, he was taking notes when they didn't want to really discuss it.
Yeah.
But back in the early 80s, during our case, we had priests come from the Vatican, and they were sent to our home, and these poor priests were thrown to the wolves. They didn't know what they were getting into.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They had no clue. These were two young priests. But then after our case, what was it, back in the 90s, and even recently now, or I should say in the 2000s, now they are, in the 20th century, they're teaching priests about demonic possession where it wasn't spoken of before.
Yeah.
But the priests that came to our house, the poor guys, they were just thrown out to the wolves. What's this?
Yeah, they were pioneers in a certain sense because they had to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like the
They were young guys.
Exorcist,
I'll never
who got his neck
forget.
broke. Yeah, but that was because they started that, and they started seeing the fruits of the lack of seminary training, and they really got caught off guard.
Yeah, that's why I said they were thrown to the wolves. It's like they didn't sign up for this.
Back then, I think there was only 7 exorcists in all of the United States, and you're on the East Coast. That was a good place to be.
Yeah, and we had 6 Roman Catholic priests altogether.
Yeah,
at
Father
the house.
LeBar was one of them, the late Father LeBar.
Yeah.
And he did
Yeah,
on
and
interviews. And
2, like I said, 2 were from the Vatican, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that, let's see, do I have anything to add on that topic? We're still hashing out a video because this is going to be sent out to the diocese to just give the kind of a mainspring, rather than to say, hey, go call somebody else, you nut job, All right, I'm not done with my fist of whiskey. Yes, this is Father Flanagan. No, don't you know the devil doesn't work that way nowadays? So no, that's, and there's few of them, but, you'll find some of them that have no problem. Hey, Father, you want to go and bless the house? And it's like, Okay, sure. They don't need to diagnose it. They just need to have the faith and go in and do a job of a priest. And priests are higher up. They're above us. The hierarchy is proven from case study, history, personal experiences. Believe it. And unfortunately, I guess that's a part of the devil's ploy. You know.
Mikey needs to eat.
Mikey needs to eat.
Yeah, let Michael go and eat. Don't forget, he's 3 hours behind us.
That's right.
I'm only an hour behind you.
Dear Christopher, he needs to sleep. He's got to deal with, the real people tomorrow morning, too. And poor Mike, we're not going to say what he was slamming down today. That guy was just like, tuckered. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't even want to know. Mike, just thinking about it just tires me out. So everybody, like we were saying earlier, don't ever forget we're here to help you fight the fight and win it right, okay? Fight's already been won. God's already won. The little nasty little hellions only have a specific time to try and drive you nuts. Don't give in to them. Like everybody was saying, don't acknowledge them. Don't give them power. We have to focus on the beautiful light that is there with grace, mercy, understanding, and peace and waiting for us to embrace it, okay?
Yeah.
And with that, thank you for joining us. It's been a very, very interesting hour and a half here at DemonologyToday.com, running into the real deals with a Fast Five. Wow. Thank you, Michael Sampson, as always, adding a bit of chagrin, Latin, and way too much education for me to fathom. And Michael Norton, your Nortonisms are always on the tip of the iceberg.
I thought you were saying both their names at the same time. Okay.
No. I just wanted to thank all of you. And Deb, thank you for helping us juggle both chat rooms.
Yes,
That's been a lot of fun.
God bless.
Good night, everybody. God bless each of you. Remember, rabbits, say your little prayer to your guardian angel because he's been appointed by God to cover your rear end, please.
Oh, don't forget, next week is about paranormal investigations, and we're hoping to add something to that we haven't added on the other shows. Denise Pride Moral P joined the gang, and we look forward to seeing you on our interface. I think we got a few things figured out, and maybe, it's like the worst case scenario is I come back in, the stream's still going, you guys have a delay. That's like the best case scenario.
That was way
Remember,
bizarre.
we had we had nothing last week because of this server.
And how about the last few weeks? You just keep dumping Christopher, and you don't even call him and say, "Sorry, I dumped you, Christopher." My gosh, you're lucky even likes you.
Man, I offended them.
Yeah, Christopher. Yeah. The poltergeist case is going to be delayed 2 weeks there, Christopher.
Due to construction. Due to construction on the house. Oh my gosh, it's like one thing after
another.
Yeah,
for what reason the basement's leaking? Yeah, we'll find out, won't we?
Yes.
But yeah, we'll see you next week.
As
Appreciate
my
it.
demons turn.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So God bless everybody, and this show is now at an end. Good night. God bless.
Demonology Today Radio, copyright 2016. Unauthorized redistribution without the express written consent of the hosts, Kenneth and Farah Rose Deel, is strictly prohibited.